Hey y'all, and welcome back to Carbon Scoring, the best place for comics, history, and action figures. I recently got to sit down with Steve Evans of Hasbro and talk about the Marvel Legends 3.75-inch line and the future of Marvel's 4-inch offerings. If you're looking for a hard-hitting piece of investigative journalism where I hold a Hasbro executive's feet over the fire and ask him why he hasn't made your favorite obscure character, that's not what this is. But if you want to hang out with a couple of guys who genuinely love toys, who love the history of action figures and comics, and probably learn a little something in the process, this is the video for you. Hey guys, I am here with Steve Evans, who is the Director of Design and Development for the Marvel lines at Hasbro. Steve, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Hey Trey, it's good to see you. Good to meet you. I've heard of you and seen some of your podcasts. I'm living in the ancient times. Your YouTube video, so it's good to kind of finally see you face to face, if all virtually, and meet up and have a chat.
I am and have always been a comic book fan, so I'm always interested in the origins of things. And I'd like to delve a little bit into the origins of the Retro 3.75 line.
Sure.
You know, I figure that when you're talking about a major multi-billion-dollar corporation, that when you're looking at developing and designing a line, that there's certain parameters that have to be met, that you're looking at, you know, what is the price point that you're going to go for? What is the target audience of a line? And like where on, say, the planogram of Target and Walmart stores and things like that, that something like this would fit. Those are all, you know, really constructive, solid guidelines that you guys have to go through. But then out of that somehow comes the genius of a line like the Retro 375 line. Like, how do you get from those kind of rules and boundaries into something that we all really love?
Yeah, and I would like to say that every kind of idea is always born from very strict parameters and deeply researched, and everything ticks everything, and we arrive at an idea. And that sometimes does happen, but sometimes someone just has an idea, and we go, "Hey, what do you think about that?" So and we run with it, and we experiment, and we test it, and then it turns out that it does fit a lot of those boxes. So I don't know what you want to call it. Happy accident, I guess, is probably one word for it. But I think for 375, it's interesting because I've been on the Marvel team now for 3 years, and when I first joined, so before I joined Marvel, I was on Star Wars. So I ran Star Wars for sort of 4 or 5 years, and I've been collecting all this stuff for 30 odd years. So I came to Hasbro in 1999, so I've been with them for 25 years. So I got onto toy and Star Wars, and so I'm a big toy guy. So when I joined the Marvel team, I was like, this is great. I haven't done Marvel. You know, I liked Marvel as a kid, or, well, teen in the 90s. I've got my X-Men stuff from like the 90s, all the Jim Lee and Liefeld and all that kind of stuff. And I came into the team, and I sat with Dwight Stoll, who heads up our Legends line for design. And I was like, so what's new? What you got? What's going on? And he was like, well, you know, we've got the Legends, it's 6-inch, we're doing this, and yada, yada. And we're thinking of the HasLabs and stuff like that. And he says, we've got this crazy idea where we want to do these like retro, these little small little figures, these retro, original comic book stuff for Marvel. Thinking of like making it a bit like Kenner. And I was like, whoa. I said, stop, hang on. I said, Kenner didn't make Marvel toys. That went from Mattel in like 84. I said, they chose DC path, right? And he was like, yeah, I know, but we've got the Kenner brand, and we want to build them like 3.75, simplified torsos and articulation, and just very Kenner looking and feeling, and get like really good packaging. And I was like, okay, can we do that? Is that feasible? Is that authentic? I said, well, it didn't happen, but we are Kenner, we own Kenner, and all right, so. And I went back and researched. So I did a little bit of research. And I'm like, okay, so Mego, you'll see your figures behind you. Mego had the Marvel license, you know, sort of late 70s. And they had it up to like 81. I think they went out of business in 83, I think. And so, you know, Kenner took the DC license in 84. Mattel took the Marvel one in 84, you know, all that. And I was like, so there's this period of like maybe around 1982, when Kenner was doing Indiana Jones, that maybe they could have they could have got the license for it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, so it's feasible. What would it look like? So then we went in, and I remember drawing up this sort of rule book of like, well, Kenner torsos are quite stocky. They're not super exaggerated triangles. And so we started getting, and basically got more and more and more excited about it. And we're like, yeah, okay, that's a really cool, weird idea. Then we started doing the things you were talking about, Trey, which like, all right, well, who's it for? I said, well, it's for people like me,
Right.
hardcore collectors that know the comic stuff and remember the 70s, 80s. Okay, and 3 3/4. All right, there's that. And I said, plus it's also quite simple and it's going to be bright colors, I reckon, if we're doing comics. Maybe kids will like them too. Maybe they won't, maybe they will, but it's definitely fan. And then we're like, all right, well, it's five POA. I was like, okay, strong. We call it a sharp price point. Sharp price point. What do you reckon? $10? Yeah, I can get it for $10. Okay. All right. So, but it's the figure, but it's also the packaging. What's the packaging look like? What's the blister? Okay, it's blister card. And we're going to get LTJ to kind of do some drawings. It's going to be very so it just snowballed, and we were just like, let's do it. Why not? Because sometimes we just take a chance.
I really like the fact that Dwight had a relatively fully formed idea, but then you really dug into the research of it. And that concept of where did the Mego license with Marvel end before the Mattel license began with Star Wars kind of really puts that directly in a spot,
Yes.
directly into a style spot, a body design spot, an articulation spot. That's pretty fantastic. And as I think back across most of the figures, I think that that's really kind of the 1982 look that virtually everyone has. When I think about, where was, Storm and Luke Cage and some of the different ones in the line, they would have slotted really right into that time frame very nicely.
Yeah, and it was very specific. Maybe it's my OCD, but it's like we can't treat it as if it's 1984 because we'd already kind of moved on to 4.5 inch, and we were doing that. And in '82 you can argue, yeah, but Indiana Jones had knees, had sprung. I was like, yeah, but then we were also doing Jedi figures that were still quite simple. I was like, so okay. So I said, right, we're going to do it. We got to imagine it's 1982. Who are the characters we want to do if we were in 1982? Don't do anyone older. Like, so Deadpool's not going to, we're not going to do Kate. We're not going to do all those kind of people. So let's do it. But I've always said that the time moves quicker in the 375 universe. So it escalates and speeds forward.
Yeah,
So
I mean, and you got to sell some toys too. So it never hurts to have Venom in a line, or a black suit Spider-Man. So it's okay to fast forward just a little bit to get those guys in there.
Yeah. So it was just a fun line, and selfishly, it was something that I just really loved, and I just love the way they look. It looks like a sweet shop, as I would say, a candy store to you, but like it's just this brightness that's just innocent and fun and reminiscent. And the reason why I collect all this stuff, if I'm honest, is to recapture my youth, because I'm getting older and I get the memories from all these things, and just seeing those things, although I've never seen them before, they're reminiscent of that era and that time. And I would wax candy packets, and it's just tasty.
They automatically take you there. I mean, that is certainly one of the biggest things, is they instantly pull you into the past. And you mentioned it's not just the figures, it's the packaging that is such a key part of the appeal of these figures. And I'm your target customer because I bought 2 of all of them, because I have a huge wall, and I'm an out of package collector. I am a loose collector. I like to get my toys out. I like to play with them. I like to set them up. I like to free them from their shells. But at $10, you can have both, and they do make such an incredible display, both in package and out of package. And I love how you have them in your cabinet there, right behind you. They do look so good lined up.
Yeah, it is I've got you on remote, so I'm gonna actually remote you around here. We'll see if this works, everybody. Oh, there we go. Look, let's see how that works.
Oh, so, brilliant.
I've got 2 layers. So that's my kind of top layer. They're arranged by team, roughly. Forgive me if I've mixed teams up a little bit. I don't know as much about Marvel as Dwight does, that's for certain. There's far too much stuff. So I got some things in there. And then I'm also lucky enough to kind of just pick out a few little prototypes where the coloring's different. It's like a brighter, actually no, it's this one, the gold Power Man, and different version of Ghost Rider's bike and things like that. So they just look just tasty, just real tasty. I'll pull you back.
They really do. And certainly one of the things that kind of always makes collectors kind of lose their mind is when teams get started and then they don't get finished. And so
I know.
if you're going to do Marvel's first family, it always hurts when there's just the Thing or just the Human Torch. So not only did you get the 4 members of Marvel's first family, you really got the 6 members, with Doom and Surfer being kind of that next part of Marvel's first family with the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and it's the going. What I love about starting a new line is that you have everyone to choose from, and you go back to the A-listers. You go back to like you try and mix in the A-list with some deeper cuts, and it's just fun to do. It's also impossible because we can never finish all the families and get them all done at once. And we spoke a long time about, okay, do we do this wave as the Fantastic Four wave, and this is an X-Men wave, and like a bit more like how Legends do it. And we're like, no, this is a candy store. This is just who looks good together, who works, color breaks, the packaging we consider as well, what works next to each other. And there was a lot of rules, but it felt ruleless.
Well, and that really does come back to one of the things that you and I experienced as kids collecting Star Wars figures is, the Star Wars figures debut in like 1978, 79, but then you've got 2 more movies. Well, Chewbacca and Darth Vader don't get a new figure for Empire or Jedi, but
Yeah,
because of the way Kenner did their distribution, they got redistributed on Empire cards, on Jedi cards.
yeah,
So because there's new kids coming into this all the time. And if you're a kid and your first movie is Empire or your first movie is Jedi, you still want to get Darth Vader and Chewbacca. And so Kenner made sure that those characters were continued through the line and were on shelves throughout the whole life cycle of the toy series. And that was something that I know that you guys kind of made a purposeful effort with, particularly with this most recent wave that has 3 new figures in it,
yeah.
of making sure that when a kid or a mom walked through the aisles of Walmart or Target, that there's a Spider-Man on the shelf or there's an Iron Man on the shelf, so that you could keep those mixed in so that everybody could join in at any point.
Absolutely, and especially with new lines, you're always going to get a 2, 3, 4 waves where they're always going to be brand new. They're always going to be, oh, look at this. But then you've got to bring new people in, and you bring new people in with those heavy hitting A-list characters, Spider-Man, Cap, Hulk, all those top fire ones. And again, we took permission from Kenner. It was very conscious. We were like, look, let's redo them. I said, let's put them in different packaging. Like, if they're the same figure, let's do what they did. As you said, Trey, it's like, let's do the Star Wars, the Empire, and the Jedi packaging, and we'll change it up. So if people want to collect them, they can. They may swear about us, but like, I don't think they do, because I think half the people collected 375 for the packaging. So like, new art. And for those that don't see that, or don't care about that, they see, oh, there's Spider-Man. Oh, cool. What's it? Oh, Spider-Man. Oh, what's this? And so, yeah, it's tactical. It's tactical, but also authentic in my mind, anyway. That like that's what Kenner would do.
So I definitely want to come back to that point about being tactical, because I think that's one of the huge appeals of these figures. But before I get to that, I wanted to mention to any of the viewers out there who haven't really delved into this packaging, take a look at those Fantastic Four figures, because from a distance, it looks like they all sort of have the same packaging. But actually, each character uniquely is coming out of the Fantastic Four to really kind of make it a family
Yeah.
scheme. That was a nice touch. It was really, really nice.
Yeah, that's all thanks to Ben, who heads up our packaging and branding for Marvel. Ben Grimes, he's been on Marvel for years and years and years, and knows probably as much or more than Dwight. I don't know. I'm sure they'd have arm wrestles over that, but like, he's little things like that, and it's those little story beats that make it interesting and rich. And things like, examples, things like variants. There are some variants on there, like Storm's eyebrows were white, and I saw them. I was like, they're not really white. And like JB, who was the lead designer on it after Dwight, was like, well, it is in this cover or this panel. And I was like, yeah, but let's look at all of them. And I said, no, it's more black. And it's like, okay, well, that's kind of fun. We'll do the variant. And it's the variant. It's same as Kenner. If it's painted Luke face, molded Luke face, or it's like blue saber, yellow saber. It's part of it. We don't do it. Certainly didn't do it maliciously. Like, oh, we'll get another purchase out of them. It's just like, no, make the change, make the running change. It's a fun story. or things where we miss things. I missed the thing off the boots on Wolverine. I know I did.
Oh,
It's just one of those
yeah.
things.
You took some heat for that one. Yeah, that definitely, that's it. Well, now I'm gonna have to get off of this call and go to eBay and hunt down the eyebrow version of Storm that I don't have. So,
Yeah, that's the only official variant. That's the only one
okay.
I said change it.
All right.
The other
Good to
ones are
know.
just
Good to know.
natural things that go wrong in the factory. If the color's missed or it's offset or something. But it's for me, it's part of the fun. Like part of the fun of like collecting Star Wars, which I've done for again 30 years, is the little stories behind it, the little variants, or like that's different, or like, oh yeah, small head harm, large head harm. What's that about? Like what? Telescopic? What do you mean telescopic lightsaber? What? Where's that? I haven't got one.
I I remember being a kid being so disappointed that my Jawa had kind of the cheap sort of vinyl cape, but my friend's Jawa had cloth.
Yeah, yeah. So you didn't even like it. You left it
Yeah,
in
I was like,
pack.
why did I
You
get the
didn't play
crappy
with
one?
it.
Yeah, get rid of this. Who needs this cape? Get this out of here.
That's the only loose figure. I don't collect loads of variants, but it's the only loose figure I don't have because I just can't trust that I'm going to get a real genuine cape, other than
Right.
buying it in a pack, and I haven't got $54,000 for whatever it is.
Pretty, it's a reasonable decision, not to get hoodwinked
Yeah,
on a fake vinyl cape Jawa for sure. Well, you
yeah,
brought up the tactical aspect of this, and that's something, the tactile aspect of these
yeah,
figures. I did 2 videos on this line. One, which was early in my YouTube channel, that I titled "The Return of Toys," and I really kind of focused on the fact that these things are just so great to have in your pocket. As a matter of fact, my Spidey has been on vacation with me for the last several years, and I've set him up and taken pictures with him, all around the world. It's been a super fun adventure. And then I did a second video where I compared these toys to the Secret Wars line, which is really even more interesting to me now, learning more about the origins of how all
yeah,
this came together. But one of the most common comments that I would get was, "Oh, wow, these things look so great. I'm so tempted, but I haven't picked one up." And what I would always say is, just get one. And when you get it in your hands, when you feel the
I gotta
type
touch
of
it.
plastic that it has, because it's not a rock hard
No,
plastic. It's got a little bit of softness to it, which makes the joints just that much kind of tighter, and they move so well. There is something just really, really satisfying about having these in hand.
yeah, they are, and it's again, it's purposeful, and you could argue. I'm just trying to think back now. It's like no, stop. So most figures, certainly in the day, was yeah, PVC. Is that
Yeah, the
right?
PVC
Yeah,
pipe, yeah.
it's PVC. So it's usually arms and legs are PVC. The torso is usually ABS, which is a harder plastic and much more ding ding ding. But the legs are it's called a durometer. So the amount of bend in it, it's called. So if I've got a high number durometer up to 100, it's really stiff. A low number down to like 55. Anything below then it gets a little bit wobbly. But like I don't know what these are. I'm gonna guess like sort of 75 maybe. See, there's a little bit of give in there. And it was again like the Kenner, like we all know our EV99, who I do have, his leg would go because it's thin and it's
Yep.
kind of the charm of it. But you're right, there is a sort of matte feel to them, like a sort of slightly dry feel.
Yeah, and it brings up that same nostalgia, and that's what I was trying to encourage the people is like, you've just got to get one of these in your hands because it's a completely different experience when you're holding one in your hand. It really
Yeah.
does kind of bring all of that back.
Yeah, I love it. And I think that's why I'm seeing a lot of people that get these, their kids enjoy them because they're not fiddly, they're not over articulated by any stretch. The
Right.
kids can't quite get them to be like a man or a woman, but and they're bright colors. So I've seen a lot of a lot of fans give them to like 3, 4 year old kids, and they dig them. So that to me is perfect storm. I love it when we have a line that is fan targeted, but empowers that fan to then share it with their kids or their nephews or friends. And that's what it's about because, I've been thinking about my mortality recently, turning 50. It's very old, but it's like we're all getting older. And it's like, I want to be around when I'm 90 and all this stuff of the things that I loved when I was a kid still around. I still need Star Wars. I still need Marvel around when I'm like 19. I'll only really that'll exist as they introduce and bring in new kids, but it's a lot of responsibility of fans to kind of pass it along. Being evolving and what's the word again? It's late. It's not. But like evolving from a kid to a collector to a fan is something that I have enjoyed in my life. I want everyone else to do that, and it's really important because we're only getting older. I'd hate it if like kids went collecting and fandom, ugh, boring. Don't want to do that because when we die, there'll be no one left. So it's important.
It almost feels like a sacred trust that you have to carry on and bring down to the next generation, and it's figures like this that really kind of make that possible. And we're going to talk here in just a moment about some more figures that I think really serve that purpose pretty well. But before we get into some of the exciting new stuff that we've got going on, I have one more, the classic question that everybody wants to ask. Now, unfortunately, we know that the line right now is on rest, and I very much appreciate when you made the announcement on your Instagram channel that you mentioned that lines go on rest, and you brought up specific examples, specifically like the Star Wars vintage line that was rested for a while and came back. And I think that all of us, would love to see this line come back. But thinking back on the incredible accomplishment that you have now, which one is your personal favorite that you have?
Okay.
Don't say Ghost Rider because I don't have Ghost Rider yet, so it's got to be somebody other than Ghost Rider. and then looking forward, what figure would you be most looking forward to do when given the next opportunity?
Without giving away of maybe something we've already planned. So I've already said my favorite is Vision. I actually had it in my hand. I always go to him. It's Vision because I just love the color scheme. I have this thing for green, and a lot of people don't like green, but I like the cape. I just like it. I just like it. It's an aesthetic thing. I could then turn around and say, well, no, actually, Thor's probably the best one made, the best made one in terms of construction and look and balance and just.
The Thor is really excellent with the cape, with Mjolnir, with the helmet, with the shine to the paint on the helmet. It is an outstanding figure.
But then I'm also a sucker tray for like clear figures. I love my translucent figures, so I like John. So it changes. Oh god, and I also like Green Goblin again. Psycho colors. I dig the green. So I'm really answering your question by not answering your question. But then I like Spider Woman as well. She's good too.
She is good. She's really good.
I love all my babies, but
it is a lot like asking a parent to choose their favorite child, and that's
Dune's good too. But if you held a gun to my head, I've already said Vision. I said it about a year ago as my favorite, so that's the one I like. What was the next question? The one I'd like to do?
Yeah. You're on the spot.
I think we could do a really good Doctor Strange.
Ooh.
I think you could get a mix. I'm going to link this here. I think you could get the best of Vision, the best of Thor, detail, cape, a certain finesse, a certain amount of detail, but like colors, nice color blocks with the red, the blues, and all the different colors that he has. I think a Doctor Strange would be wicked, and for me, it like epitomizes that kind of era, that old school era. Because as a kid, I didn't like Doctor Strange. I was like, who's that old guy with a moustache? Like, that is weird. But it's something, for me, he always seems that era, that sort of early 80s, late 70s, probably early 80s.
It's really hard to go wrong with that red, blue, and yellow popping off of that figure. That just would scream off of a shelf. Would be absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So if I took everything I liked, merged it all together, maybe put a bit. I don't know how to get translucency in there. Maybe we had the Eye of Agamotto with a little translucent thing with a little bit of light piping through the back. That would be cool.
Oh, now we're really going.
But this is the thing I love about it. This is the thing I love about it is there's still more to do. So who knows? I love it. The team love it. We rested it. We've got other stuff that we need to do and we need to try out. And that's just the way of things. It's just it's not happened before. So there we go.
And this may be a question that you can't answer, but the line started with Pulse exclusive 2-packs. Has there been any kind of discussion or any thought about bringing some of the stuff back as Pulse exclusive figures?
Not as yet, if I'm telling the truth. I haven't had any conversations about that as yet. But like I tell you what I do is I'll often, I'm very aware of what's being said out there, whether it's on my Instagram or just generally. So like, it'll come up in conversation. It will. We're planning. We're just about to start planning 2025. So yeah, it won't go unnoticed or unheard. That's the beauty of what we do, or what you do, to be perfectly frank. The voices are out there and opinions are out there, and you can pick up on trends and sentiments.
And I think that's
nicely. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I think it's important for the viewers to remember that it's 2 years. It's years from idea to shelf, and we all have to kind of have that in our minds as we're going through the process of, we all want everything right now. So
yes, you do. This is the best job in the world. It is the best. I was just telling my kids yesterday, I was sitting up there talking about the future and do a job you always love, and just, it doesn't matter what it is, but just make sure you love it, because you've got to get up every day and do it for like 40, 50, 60 years. And like, I was like, I'm lucky that I genuinely believe this is probably the best job I could ever do. But it's also an impossible job. Like, I can never please everyone. We can't. It's just impossible. But that's okay, because it gives us there's always something to do. There's always something to strive for and reach for. So it's like, I never find myself going, oh, well, we're done, aren't we? Nothing more we can do.
There is no chance to make it truly to the top of the mountain. There's always more mountain to climb.
Always, which is great. It keeps me going, gets me up in the morning.
But we talked about that perfect combination, that thing that really tickles your collector bone, but also appeals to kids in the next generation. And you may be onto something with a line that we should be seeing very soon with the new 4-inch line. Tell me a little bit about where that is, where that's going, and how excited you are.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I want to be clear, like the 375 is for fans, and we find that a lot of kids like them. And the new Epic 4-inch series that we're bringing out is definitely for kids, but I think some fans will like it. It is not a replacement. It comes from a completely different place. Because if you think last year, all our kids' figures were, I don't have anything with me, were 6-inch figures, 5-point of articulation, maybe knees once in a while, but they were a little stiffer, but they were the same as Legends, same height as Legends. And we know that a lot of kids buy Legends, by the way. A lot of kids get into Legends, which is great, because that's that generational thing I'm talking about. You've got to come in. I'm finding that kids, as they get older, they want a Spider-Man. They see the Super Articulator, or the one on the retro card, like with Legends, and they're like, oh, I want that one. So we know kids buy that. So it seemed to me a little duplicitous, I can't say that word, bit of a duplication with like 6-inch and 6-inch. And we were like, okay, I want kids to be able to get these figures, and I want to do more vehicles. I want to do more play sets. I want them to make worlds, because kids, when they hit kind of 6, 7, 8, they get into this sort of world. It's about world building and controlling the world. When they're sort of 2, 3, 4, it's about me and my buddy. That's why you'll find a lot of kids have bigger toys, like 12-inch toys, and they carry them around. It's like me and Spider-Man are going on an adventure. When they get to that 6, it's now I'm in control of this situation with Spider-Man and whoever. So I just went, we should go to 4-inch. And, some people go, oh, is it 3.75? Is it 4? I would say it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to a kid. A kid does not know the difference, in my opinion, most kids. So 4-inch gives them a little bit more to hold on to. It's a little bit bigger. And it allows us to add up knees and arms, which are important. Kids do like that. They like them to be able to fit in and sit in and be realistic in their vehicles. And they like to bend their arms so they can pose them a little bit more. So we went, okay, we'll take 6-inch standard articulation, 5-point, and we'll take it smaller and allow us to have knees and elbows. Cool. Kids. Cool. Okay. And they love to, and like, now we can do more vehicles and more play sets and things like that. So it just happened that parents and fans like me were like, I kind of like that. Do I want that? So I've got some in my case.
I am super excited. And certainly as a Spider-Man guy, seeing that line launch with a set of Spidey figures only whets my appetite that much more. there are a ton of people who are big fans of the old Marvel Universe line, and I
Yeah.
may be not making friends by saying this, but I kind of found the articulation at that line was maybe a little bit off-putting. It was really hard. It was really hard to get that full Marvel Legends 6-inch articulation down at 3.75. But with 4 inches and just a little bit less articulation, it
Yeah.
works. Look at how well that works.
Yeah. Venom's actually really good because he's a bit chunky. And Spider-Man is slimmer than most. So
Mhm.
Spider-Man, and we're just releasing our Mecha-Swords, which are sort of Avengers line. So you get Cap and Black Panther and Thor and people like that who are a bit chunkier. But there's some. I'm not like a salesman, not like a snakeskin salesman trying to sell it. I'm like, I kind of like these. I genuinely do. I've been collecting for decades and decades and decades. And when I saw them, I was like, I'm going to have these. I'll have these. So I speak to Sean, who heads up our toy design for Marvel, and I was like, just make sure I get a sample of those as well, please. So
I talk a lot of times about how you need that balance between the integrity of the sculpt and the articulation. And those are hitting a really nice spot in the middle because, you look at that and it doesn't look like just a gangly bunch of joints. It looks like Venom. It looks like
yeah,
Spider-Man. But when a kid's got it in his hand, he's still got nice move at the shoulders, nice move at the elbows and knees. It's pretty exciting.
yeah, and articulation is what adds cost the most because it's labor putting it together. So I don't know how many meetings we have. Do we do waist articulation? And like, what do we? So it's a long discussion, but it's like, all right, I kind of want to keep it around that $10 mark. I want to keep it. It's got to be around there.
Right.
I know everything's more expensive now anyway, but it's like adding extra bits and pieces kind of adds the price. And you kind of, again, if you go all the way back to your original kind of like in the box price point and who's it for, kind of loses it a bit. So, I hope it does well. I hope it does well. I hope kids enjoy it. I hope some fans enjoy it too. And we'll just see. But we've got to try these things.
From the poster, it looks like you've got a fairly expansive initial offering set up.
Yeah, I think it was 29, something like that in the first year. And, without giving anything away, that last row. That's what I'll say. That last row.
I know you can't tell us, but can you give us like a time frame of when we might be seeing some?
I think we work in seasons, so we work in spring and we work in fall. And weirdly enough, fall is usually sort of August release time because a lot of retailers set a very specific dates, usually April 1st and August 1st. That you can do it some way in between sometimes if there's a movie. So I would imagine kind of like it's definitely in the fall, sort of past August for those. One will come. Yeah. Anyway, you'll see after today. Definitely, I can tell you.
I'm going to see if I can keep trying to weasel my way into getting you to accidentally spill something as we.
You'll have a job.
I had a chance to interview Dan and Ryan back at the end of last year, and we were talking about the Spider-Man VHS line, and I kind of joked with them. I'm like, so you're confirming Aunt May? I had zero idea, and I imagine they probably knew that Aunt May was on the docket just because of how long it takes to do that. But I don't know.
When did you speak to them? When did you speak to them?
It was it had to have been October, I guess. October.
Oh yeah. That was a great one. I love those kind of. Is it deep cut? I guess it is. Because when they came and they said, "Hey, we want to do." First, they said Doc Ock and like with the bendable tendrils and tentacles, and I was like, yes. And they're like, and we kind of want to pair it with Aunt May, and everyone was like, "What?" And I was like, "That's brilliant! Imagine the colors."
Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And of course, they have history. I mean, they were this close to getting married.
Yeah.
So it's,
I know. I love things like that. Cool stories. It's all about stories for me. It's like, we always have to bring out the A-list characters and always have them available because it's how you build that community and bring new people in and that will never change, and I don't have a problem with that. But I like that. I like that balance with the oddity. What you did? What you do? Aunt May? Huh? Weird. It makes it exciting. It makes it interesting. I like it.
Well, and that's the beauty of having different product lines to where you can slip a figure like that in because you're not going to put Aunt May on the pegs at Walmart. I can't, or it'll be Aunt May by herself on the pegs at Walmart is a difficult task. But I am so glad to be adding her soon to my collection. That's I do
Yeah.
have the old famous covers. Aunt May, are you familiar with that figure, the 8-inch cloth costume figure?
No, I've seen some photos of it. I'm not intimately familiar with it, if that's the right word to use.
All right.
You
So
got it?
I don't have it with me, but I do have a
Oh.
full display of the 90s famous cover figures
Ah.
that Toy Biz did, and with their first series, which was Spidey, Green Goblin, Storm, and oh, I'm so embarrassed that I can't remember the fourth figure. There was a coupon in there, and that if you sent in $10 and the proof of purchase, you got a special exclusive Aunt May. Now, she was on the
Ah.
same body frame as Storm, if that'll give you nightmares for the
Got
rest
it.
of life. I'm actually thinking about doing a video on the history of famous covers because I just loved that line so much. It's such a
You
great
should do
line.
that.
But that's
It's
our only
again,
Aunt May.
I almost feel embarrassed. Like I was brought up on Star Wars. I liked Marvel, but the depth of characters, storylines, toy lines is just mind-boggling. That's why Dwight, Ryan, Dan, Ben, Rob, and Jesse Falcon at Marvel are just like the bastions of all things. I go, what do you reckon? Find us something really interesting, and they go off and they just conjure up this weird, incredible stuff that I go, okay, I trust you, and it goes out, and the fans go, yes, yes. But again,
You
it's
know,
all
and I
about
think that's
balance.
really
It's got a
clear. I,
balance.
I think that, and I really enjoy the fact that you guys do engage with the fan community as much as you do, and taking time out of your busy schedule just to have a chat with me means the absolute world. And I know
Uh,
that
but
viewers are going to really appreciate this. But I hope that they see when we have these talks where we're just fans talking about these things that we love, that they understand just how much you guys love these characters and love this mythology and love what you're making and how you're bringing it to us.
yeah, I mean, and it's again, it's a cliche. It is a cliche that it's like we're just fans, just like you. But we generally are. We don't. We, a lot of the people that work on this line are regular people. Like I'm just a guy from Colchester in England that just collected Kenner stuff and just managed in when Star Wars, when episode one was coming out, I was like, job at Hasbro, I can get free stuff. Wicked, I'm gonna get a job. And I was a pain in the ass to them. I was just applying and applying, and in the end they called me up and called me in for an interview. And I remember vividly saying, "Oh, you're Steve Evans," because I've been hounding them and hounding them, and they gave me a break, and and Dwight's been doing it for decades, and he's an old Kenner guy, and JB's an old Kenner guy, and it's just there's no airs or graces, we're not sort of like rock stars or we're not like super intelligent MBA people. I know Ryan and people like that are, but like a lot of the designers are just regular Joes, and we all do genuinely love it, and we love it when we get it right, and we really beat ourselves up when we get it wrong. We really do. Like we get it wrong. We're human. What do you know? What can I tell you? It's like some things they happen, whether it's a logistical mistake or a human error,
Or
and
Wolverine's boots.
it worries. But I was so about that. I was like, how can we do that? It's just like I don't know. I don't know. We didn't. Whatever. But that has been the same throughout time in any industry you go into, and especially in the toy industry. And I have this weird kind of sadistic joy about that when I look back and I see little mistakes or little things or differences. I go, that's the story. That's the thing that makes me able to talk about this stuff. If I did everything 100% right all the time, when I'm 90 and talking to my grandchildren or my great grandchildren, it'll be a pretty boring story.
Well, I like to think that there's some kid out there who takes a figure that maybe wasn't canon correct, but creates his own story out of
Yeah,
it. You know, the big tall blue snaggletooth has become the mythology of some kid out there, even though it
yeah.
wasn't screen accurate, and that maybe we'll see the next old man Logan without boots on, and it'll be some great forever classic story that we get.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's a good point. The blue snag. That was my last Star Wars figure I got. I had to pay for that. Like, I had to pay proper for that one. I had to.
Oh, to
I
complete
had
the
to
run.
So all my Star Wars figures are they they cost me, and I'm not exaggerating. The vast majority, I've got them all apart from vinyl gel. Uh, they all cost me about half a pence, half a cent, 1 cent, 1 cent, because I bought them as a massive job lot years ago, and they were unplayed with. Someone had them in an ice cream tub, and I was like, "Oh, I'll buy those." They didn't want much money for it. I got them home, and I was like, "Oh, they still squeaked. They were just perfect." And I had
Ooh.
nearly all of them. The only two I had to buy was Blue Snag and Yak Face, and I had to pay £90 for Yak Face, and I think I paid £200. That was just like insane, but
Yeah, I remember when the
special.
PayPal hit came through for Yak Face. That was that bit a little bit.
He can't.
I love how I'm
I don't know
leaning in
whether, I
the
don't know whether I
camera like
picked
I
that
can
up,
hear
but
it
like
better. Yeah,
it's just like he's got a little scuff on his boot, but anyway.
that is fabulous. That is absolutely
It's the stories that make it for me. The perfect imperfections of life, Trey, is what interests me.
yeah, right. Because if everybody was perfect and everything, there would be no story. There would be
Boring.
no underdog.
Yeah.
There would be no Peter Parker. There would be no appeal to the kid who constantly gets beaten but won't give up.
Yeah.
That's why we follow that guy to the ends of the earth.
Yeah, it's good. I'm seeing kids getting involved with it and making their own and designing their own superheroes or toys and things. It's very exciting. I love it. I mean, I dabble in customizing and mold making and kit bashing and stuff. And when I go out there and I see young kids, and I say young, like 18, 19, I see 12-year-olds. I see young collectors all over the place, and it's very encouraging. It really is, because I like this community, and I like this hobby, and it's very therapeutic to me. People do it for different reasons, but it helps me a lot. And like, the world is tough at the moment. There's some weird stuff going on, and everything's expensive, and everything's sort of slightly unstable, and it's weird and it's hard. And you need that sanctuary. And for me, this here behind me is my sanctuary. I come down, I look, I remember the stories, I can remember moments from my childhood, and I go over and I try and create stuff, and it's very therapeutic. I love it.
And that's what I hope to bring to this as well. I have been blessed to have been a collector for decades now. And, if I get a chance to share my collection with people through this channel and let them feel a little bit of that nostalgia and just have a little bit better part of their day, if that's what we're providing around here, then
Yeah,
that's an absolute win.
absolutely, absolutely. So thank you for sharing your stuff with everybody and doing it so professionally and out there. And yeah, it's good. I mean, the community is great. I love it. It's I wouldn't say it's saved me over the last few years. I haven't been that bad, but it's really helped. It's really helped.
Yeah, I think it's helped a lot of us, and we are blessed with a really great community. Particularly the YouTube collector community is really fantastic.
Cool.
Steve, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. I have enjoyed this so much. Clearly we come from maybe different sides of the Atlantic Ocean, but very much the same place when it comes to collecting and what we enjoy, and more importantly, why we enjoy it. So thank you again for spending a little time with us.
Hey, I appreciate it. It's very nice to come back from work. Had a long, hard day today. Come back and just to kind of decompress and chat about the things I love. So no, I appreciate you talking to me, Trey, and I wish you well. And I will follow your collecting journey with interest, I'm sure.
Thank you so much.